to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Works out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
And happy Wednesday to everybody. Hope you're having a good one. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition City Inn, as he kindly does from time to time. Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you. I feel like everybody's getting like this nice golfer's tan view here. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got it. I
promise you, it started. It started the white as completely as can be, yep. And the darkness comes down. But
people got
I tried to do this, man, but that doesn't work. You look like a moron on the golf course if you're playing. And I'm not hanging out at a pool laying out. So, but I hope everyone's having a great day. I don't think there's going to be a lot of the sun this week. A lot of rain coming down. So you got that going on, which is nice. Tonight in Brownsburg, you've got the junior senior all-star game for Indiana. So there's that. I'll be headed over there to check that out. Looking forward to seeing some of those guys go at it. I'm looking at well, I don't know what you call it, just a graph that Saint Tom Allen, he's a guy on Twitter that puts up a lot of great graphs. Put one up yesterday, the player percentage of team points scored. Nice little graph to look at. Bracy Wright has the highest ever, and that was in the 2003-04 season. But I think, they were 14 and 15 that year. That may have been, what's his name's last year? But 28% of the team scoring, a third. Wow. But guess who was second all time is Trace Jackson Davis at 27.4% last year.
Wow.
27.4%. Okay. You look right in front of that, Bracy Wright, he was on a 14 and 15 team. Trace Jackson Davis does that. What was the record last year? They were above 500, but it's not a good team. That's the thing I was going to point out. Anybody that's on this list, probably not on a good team usually. If you've got one guy that is the 1/3 of your offense, you're probably in trouble unless, usually you're in trouble. And that'll be, if you look down those records, with the exception of maybe the 2001 season with Kirk Haston doing it at 26%, but they didn't do anything. But I promise you, Trace Jackson Davis will not score 27% of Indiana's points this year. I would say that number is well under 20% this year. I don't know how far that's going to drop. But, everybody, I saw someone tweet, oh, man, Trace Jackson Davis is going to score 30 and 15. I'm like, no, he's not. His numbers will go down. I mean, his numbers you want his numbers to go, well, you want his numbers to go down from the standpoint because it's other people picking up the slack that weren't there before. The guys that are hitting shots, other guys that can do things that wasn't getting done. But I assure you, he is not going to be scoring 27% of Indiana's points, which is a good thing.
I don't think they're going to need him to do that. I think they're going to develop some sort of outside perimeter shooting. They're going to have better interior play with some of the additions they've made. But the thing is, you don't want to. I think what people are going to say is, Trace Jackson Davis's numbers are going to go up, and I agree with you. I don't think that's the case. What you want to see is him develop new elements to his game. You want to see him be able to step back, maybe not hit the 3-point shot. It would be nice if he had that in his arsenal, but hit a jump shot from the wing, hit it from the elbow, just add that element to keep defenses honest. I think if he develops a jump shot, if he becomes a little bit of a better passer, his overall game is going to help Indiana win some basketball games this year. So you can't look at the numbers and say, boy, Trace Jackson Davis, he saw a decrease in his junior season. That's not going to be the case. I think his overall all-around game is going to improve, and then you're going to see the benefits on the court for the Indiana team. So it's an interesting point. I would be curious to know how his percentage of points scored for Indiana last season compares to someone like a guy like, off the top of my head, Glenn Robinson, who was a player of the year, somebody like that who averaged 29, 30 points a game. I mean, I'm sure that there are situations where a player has scored, accounted for 25 to 30% of his team's points, and he's been on a good team. But I'd be curious to know how frequent that is compared, throughout the course of college basketball history.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. Good thought, but to look at that. Well, something else. Indiana offered CJ Carr. In any other instance, that wouldn't mean squat. But he happens to be the grandson of former University of Michigan legendary coach Lloyd Carr. That's kind of funny. Now that I've talked about all these transfers here. We spoke with Stephen Carr. We'll hear from him in a bit. He came in from USC. We talked to Jaron Handy, came in from Auburn. You got these guys coming in from all over the place. Stanford, all these big time programs. That would be the ultimate. I mean, that would be kind of a stick to Michigan, first of all. That would be a big stick to Michigan if he is. I haven't read how coveted he is, but Michigan's having some problems, man. They are leaking players still, and that is not a good sign for Jim Harbaugh to hold on there, especially when those are some of the players that you expect to produce.
Yeah, the interesting thing is you look at Michigan and you thought with this new youth movement on their coaching staff, quote unquote, that you might see some of these players stick around, but basically they're hitting the transfer portal and they're deciding to leave. I mean, after a 2-4 season, I think that there's some serious uncertainty with whether or not Jim Harbaugh is going to be there in 2022. But again, we seem to say that every offseason that this is good. This might be his final year. And so far it hasn't been the case. So maybe he's okay. I really don't know. I gave up on trying to predict what's going to happen with Jim Harbaugh after the 2019 season or 2018 season, really, after they laid that egg against Ohio State and he kept his job. So it's really interesting. I think Michigan's still recruiting at a pretty high level. They're still getting some 5-star, 4-star guys. They got J.J. McCarthy coming in, that 5-star quarterback. They still have some talent there. The interesting thing about Michigan to me is we've talked about Indiana becoming a program that you're starting to see guys, those 3-star guys, they're starting to get the 4-star guys. But Tom Allen, they're starting to get recognition on a national scale. They're starting to get drafted. And I know this wasn't the best draft for them. Michigan is drafting players. They're recruiting at a high level. So what's missing? They can't beat Ohio State. They can't win the Big Ten East. It's really an interesting kind of problem because you're bringing in the talent. They're going to the NFL. But this piece in the middle here, where they're at Michigan, they've had some, 3 10-win seasons. They've gone to a bowl game all but 1 year. So they've done okay. But when you have that much talent, you're getting them to the NFL. It's a coaching problem when you can't beat Ohio State and when you can't win the Big Ten East.
How has Ohio State separated itself so much from Michigan? Michigan was probably the only Big Ten program that could have stayed on that trajectory of Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, the elite, because they've been there for a long time. And when you have a 110,000 seat stadium, that helps because when you have all those resources, it helps. You've got the name behind you. Bad coaching, other than bad coaching hires, is it simple as that Michigan has just fallen? They're a second tier team right now. Program.
I think it goes back to Jim Tressel, to Urban Meyer, and now to Ryan Day. This is going to sound, I don't know how it's going to sound, but what I think is I think Ohio State takes that game more seriously than Michigan does. And that sounds really dumb to say, but Justin Fields said it after his first season at Ohio State in 2019. I think we take this game more seriously. That with Urban Meyer particularly, he mentioned it's 365 days. You're not allowed to wear blue in the Woody Hayes athletic facility. If you do, you're doing push-ups. That is a 365 rivalry to Ohio State. Urban Meyer, he did not want to lose to Michigan. He did not lose to Michigan. He put such a heavy emphasis on it. Then you look at Jim Harbaugh. He says the game means more, but he always talks about it as it's an important week. It's a fun week compared to.
What's important, it's easy for him to talk about that because he's never won. It's like Archie Miller and Purdue. When you have never, when they own you, and I mean own you, and Purdue owned Archie Miller like Ohio State owns Jim Harbaugh. What are you going to say? There's nothing you can say because you already look like an idiot with a big goose egg up there. And so, yeah, there's not a lot more you can say. But the sheer fact is, and it's the same with both of those programs. Basketball, the Purdue Indiana thing, and the Ohio State Miss. There had been a separation. The great thing for Indiana, that separation is going to be cured. I'm pretty confident of. Football wise for Michigan, yeah, I'm not so sure. As a matter of fact, I still think they will be lucky to finish 4th in the Big Ten East. 4th in the Big Ten East this year.
Here's a crazy,
and that's not crazy.
No, that's not crazy at all.
That's the crazy thing is that's not crazy.
It's and depending on how good Rutgers is, 5th maybe. We'll see. I mean, I think it could get. It depends on how Michigan performs early, but it could get out of hand. I think Rutgers is going to be a lot better than people are going to give them credit for. But we'll see how that turns out. Here's a crazy thought, Jim. I started at Saturday Tradition in July 2016. The 2 biggest rivalries in the Big Ten are Michigan and Ohio State in football and Indiana Purdue in basketball. I've never seen Michigan beat Ohio State in football. I've never covered Indiana beating Purdue in basketball. It's just crazy.
Yep. Florida State won, or they beat Oklahoma in game 1 of the women's World Series last night. Kind of fun. That was a fun game. So that's going on. Got that continuing. It's Glenn's birthday. Well, happy birthday, Glenn Rainey. How are you? Happy birthday. He's down Tallahassee. So probably a warmer down there. We got to take a break. Plenty more coming. Lots on the show today. I forgot who else. We got Bob Kravitz, Cal Neddenriep. We got plenty to get to. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Jordan Hulls. I think he's on his way home. So lots to get to. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking...
Kyle's going to join this next segment.
Gordon Hayward sold his Fisher's home for $3 million more than he bought it for.
Didn't they say, and what, wasn't it like double?
I mean, gee.
Housing market's crazy.
The rich get richer.
Mm-hmm. It is a seller's market.
I could live the rest of my life off of just the profit he made on that house.
No, yeah, exactly.
And he would never even notice that would be like sweeping out the garage. He would miss it like dust out of the garage.
Yeah. Does he still – I'm guessing he doesn't have a home in Indiana at all anymore?
Probably not now. But he'll probably buy another one.
Oh, well, that's
Hell.
I didn't know if he got another house in Indiana somewhere. Maybe like Charlotte.
So that's a nice town. My family lives there.
I'd rather be in Asheville or Boone.
Like the mountains?
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm going to retire, man.
In Asheville or like in the Appalachians somewhere?
Actually, the Blue Ridge Mountains up here in Georgia, there's homes are a lot cheaper than you'd find in North Carolina, and they're still in the mountains. So
it's probably because you ain't close to nothing.
You're not far from. I mean, it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah,
Blue Ridge is kind of a destination. Well, quote unquote destination vacation spot. So they got.
Is that near Dalton, or is that a different mountain area?
I think Dalton's up there. Yeah.
Okay, because whenever we drive to Florida, we always drive past Dalton. it's very hilly and mountainous and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that chat from Chattanooga through about Rome is pretty mountainous area.
All right, boys, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back in.
If you're looking for a relaxing night with a family, meeting for lunch, hanging with friends, or on the golf course, Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the midway point of the week here on this Wednesday. Dustin Schutte with me. Kyle Neddenriep joining us today, as well as Bob Kravitz. Looking forward to talking to both of those guys. Tonight, speaking to Kyle, heading to Brownsburg to watch the juniors and seniors go at it. It'd be interesting. See what CJ Gunn and those juniors can put up against this senior squad is. They don't have a super. I said this yesterday. They don't have a superstar, but man, their top to bottom are just as the parity is like, wow, you could bring in like 3 different groups of 5. You could almost bring in a new group of 5. Just it's that kind of a roster setup. But looking forward to that. Live action, baby. Live action. I mean,
that's always fun.
Live action. Well, it's not like the first one I've been to, but it's now that it's like the people have been let out of the cages.
Yep.
It just changes everything. It's just so much more fun.
Well, we talked about this all year, whether it was football or basketball, not having fans in attendance. It's like playing a game in a warehouse or going to a practice. It just doesn't have that same energy. So it's really exciting to have, especially kids at the high school level who may not get the opportunity to play in front of big crowds at the next level, or might be seeing their careers come to an end. I know a lot of these guys are going to be playing somewhere else one way or another, but just to have fans in attendance at these sporting events, it's so huge, not just for professional and college sports, but for these high school athletes too.
Yeah, the Pangos is going on out in Las Vegas, the All-American camp. We talked about that yesterday. Chris Posadic's Jalen Hooks is out there. Avery Brown from Northfield Mount Herman from Massachusetts, an IU connection. You've got Vincent Iwuchukwu. Hey, Kyle Neddenriep joining us. I don't want to go any further there. Was talking about tonight at Brownsburg, Kyle. Live action, man. It's back to it. I can't wait to see them, but it should be a great game, too. I was talking about the boys' side. They don't have a superstar, but, man, they're just from top to bottom. There's no drop-off. It's just talent top to bottom. A very well-balanced team, more so than I've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's a deep class. I mean, it's we've talked about it before. It's really, you had another group of probably 8 to 10 guys who could have been on this team very easily this year and had the resume to do that. But yeah, from top to bottom, it's well balanced as far as height, guard play, even geography. It's just a really good class, and looking forward to see how they play together. They do have a couple of guys who are injured, and Brooks Barnheiser won't be able to play. I'm not sure if Pierce Thomas is going to be able to play, but even so, they have 14 on this year's squad. That still leaves you with 12. So, we'll be a really good class, and I'm curious to see how the juniors look tonight too, playing again. That's always a fun game. Sometimes even more fun than the Kentucky games is seeing how the juniors fare against the Indiana All-Stars. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. 8:00, girls at 6 tonight at Brownsburg.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if the junior boys don't take this game more seriously than the Kentucky seniors.
No, I mean it's always fun to see how, sometimes the juniors a lot of times come in without even having much of a practice. They kind of get together once and then, kind of do a walkthrough basically, and then they're out there playing. Where the All-Stars, they were over at Marion yesterday. They were able to practice together one other time, in May. I talked to Blake Wesley and J.R. Knieze, who are going to Notre Dame next year, yesterday, and they said that was this is a class that a lot of these guys know each other, and it's not uncommon anymore playing AAU ball and things like that. That the players know each other, but I think that this year's All-Star pretty good chemistry on this team, and the juniors, like I said, kind of come in on the fly. And just kind of throw a team together. Sometimes, the juniors have given them good games in the past, and that class certainly is very talented as well. I think it'd be fun to see how that, Jalen Washington and some of those guys, that CJ Gunn and Leland Walker and Braden Smith. I mean, guys like that on the junior team who are very talented as well. How they fare against the seniors? Those guys can light it up. So. That's a good class as well, that 2022 group. So it'll be a challenge. I think the Indiana All-Stars, that they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder a little bit and want to prove that this class is one of the better ones in recent years. So, but it's always fun to see who kind of, you kind of see how it shakes out. And, in the All-Star style, sometimes the guards, dominate a little bit more, or, they have more opportunities, just kind of the way it is with All-Star type settings. But it should be a good matchup. It'll be well coached, I'm sure, with Ryan Osborne leading the All-Star team, and Chad Johnston will be coaching the junior All-Stars from South Bend Adams. They had a great year this past year too. So it'll be fun to see who kind of shines tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I remember a couple of years ago, was it DeJuan Jones? They just brought off the couch for the juniors to come in just to fill in to play that game, but he came in and made a big difference. But yeah, looking forward to that. And then this weekend, of course, you've got the Indiana-Kentucky series, which takes place Friday and Saturday in Owensboro, and then it's Southport this year because of the renovations going on at Bankers Life field house. But a series that, of course, Indiana has a big lead in. And again, this year they have a solid team, so they shouldn't have a lot of problems. On the women's side, we'll get back to the men. What's it look like on the women's? I haven't paid a lot of attention to that. That's a more competitive series there.
Yeah, and I did hear Kentucky's going to have, I think, 3 girls who aren't able to play, including their Miss Basketball, who's going to Tennessee. So, who knows? Kentucky always seems to have a little more trouble getting their people there for whatever reason, or, getting the top players to play in the game. So, the girls is normally, though, like you mentioned, normally more competitive between Kentucky and Indiana. I don't have it in front of me what the all-time series. I think the boys is like 99 to 42 or something around that range. The girls has been much closer, over time. This is a good girls class. I don't know if it's the best, of all time, but they have a lot of Division I players on the roster. And, kind of like the boys, maybe they don't have that top, that superstar type player, but a lot of really good players. And Jayla Smith, who played at Lawrence North, she's going to Purdue. She was Miss Basketball, and she'll lead that team. And then Allie Becky, who really came on throughout the course of the year, going to Ball State, played at Brownsburg, led them to the state championship game where they got beat. But, and then the junior side, for the girls too, that I think that class might be a little bit stronger as far as the top level talent with, there a couple of those Crown Point girls that won state, Lily Stoddard and Jessica Carruthers, who were part of that state title team for Crown Point that beat Brownsburg. So, those 2 really good players. And then North Central, Tanya Welch, really nice player as well. Carmel's Kate Clark, really good shooter. She's committed to Michigan, and also a girl from Westfield headed to Michigan as well, Alyssa Crockett. And then Ayanna Patterson, she'll be fun to watch tonight too for the girls' side. I did a story on her a couple of years ago. She can dunk. She's going to UConn, so She is really good, really good player, 6'3". So looking forward to seeing her play in that junior girls game tonight as well. So that's a really good class. That 2022 girls class will be fun to see how they perform tonight.
That stings, losing a player like that to UConn out of the state of Indiana. Whether it's for Indiana or Purdue or Notre Dame, for someone of that caliber to get away, really, it's like Indiana football. They haven't gotten that first 5-star from the state of Indiana yet. Not a lot to come out, but it makes a difference when you get that first big time recruit from your state. It's going to make a huge difference. And Notre Dame has done that before, and Purdue probably has. But Indiana women's basketball, man, if landing that big recruit, because their program is on the rise as well. But man, you sure hate to see those big ones go, those good ones go out of state.
Yeah, it's tough when it's UConn. That's once you get that UConn offer, I mean, it's in women's basketball. And she was Ayanna Patterson. She's been, I know she was a top, even when she was like 14, 15, it was pretty much known that she was one of the top players in the country, or top recruits anyway in the country. And, really nice kid too. So, but you're right. I mean, it's kind of like IU football with, if they could get Caden Curry, from, I know they're in the mix for him, but kind of similar to Patterson, different sport, but, he's got, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, but is considering IU. So, maybe that's kind of what you're talking about. If you could get him with an in-state guy like that, kind of carrying the flag a little bit, and then it kind of leads to some recruiting momentum, which I think they kind of have anyway. But even the fact that he's considering IU, I think shows how far they've come under Tom Allen. But different sport, but maybe kind of a similar type of situation.
I'm not sure if you're keeping up with the Pangos All-American Camp out in Vegas. There's a couple guys from Indiana out there, Cathedrals, Xavier Booker's out there, among some others. I'm trying to think who the other guy was, but not a big All-American Camp going on out in Vegas this week. It's been started on Sunday, I think, maybe. Yeah,
Jalen Hooks, I think, from Addicts, and Xavier Booker from Cathedral are out there. I haven't kept up with it really to know, what's going on exactly, but I do know they're out there. So good opportunity for them to play in a big event like that.
Yeah, big time deal going on there. And then, of course, the All-Star stuff going on tonight. On the football side of things, is there an All-Star football game this summer?
Yeah, they're doing the North-South game. It's normally later in June. Last year they had to cancel it, obviously. Paul Logan was always a big part of that at North Central, and they always host it. So I don't have all the details on that, but yeah, that's always a good event. Seniors who haven't left for college yet, and that was kind of something that's changed over time too. Is normal. A lot of times these guys are gone or leaving already, and I know even talking to the Notre Dame guys yesterday, they're what a quick turnaround it is. They play Sunday or Saturday at Southport, and then turn around Sunday. They're enrolling at Notre Dame, or moving in at Notre Dame anyway, to get started there. So that's kind of become a common thing too. And a couple of years ago, they went from Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday, and then a lot of guys couldn't be there on Sunday because they were having to leave to start classes on Monday. So they went back to this Friday, Saturday format, which I think is much better. Play Friday in Kentucky. That way you have them there, and then come back here and play Saturday in Indiana at Southport in this case. But instead of trying to go to Kentucky on Sunday, that just didn't, it's too hard to go to Kentucky and then have guys leave to get to their respective colleges later that day. So I think this will be. I remember one year I think it was Desmond Bain and Kyle Guy and those guys. They only had, I think, 8 guys down there playing in Kentucky, and that was not ideal. It doesn't look good when you only have 8 Indiana All-Stars playing. So I think going back to this format, I think Friday in Kentucky, Saturday in Indiana is going to be better long term.
I had someone the other day ask, does Kentucky take this game as seriously anymore? And I said, well, if they don't, it's because they get their butt kicked so often, and that's a psychological thing, and there may be something to that. Kentucky is not. Kentucky is not a big basketball state. I don't care what people think. They're a fan of of college basketball state, but it's not as just gigantic high school basketball state. They don't produce a ton of talent, nowhere close to what Indiana does. And so I think that, yeah, maybe after all the years, you mentioned the record is like 2-1. I think it's starting to wear on those guys because they know that whatever team Indiana puts on the floor is going to be a very formidable challenge, one that they're probably not going to be able to beat. But I don't know. I mean, have they lost interest in this game, Kentucky, on the Kentucky side?
Well, you always hear that. I think it's, I think the people who run it and the people who, are the coaches every year on the Kentucky side, they always are, they're into it and they've been, very kind of during different times have rallied their teams to play well, I think. And they ended that streak. I remember going down, I think it was in Frankfurt in 2017. And, it was a great game. It was double overtime. Kentucky finally broke that streak. I think it was like 17 games in a row that they'd lost. And, a lot of the games in Kentucky that I'd covered had been very hotly contested and, they really gotten after them. Then they would come back here and it would be not as close of a game, and kind of take the steam out of them. And I know those games in Kentucky, not as many people see those games. I've covered all of them since I've been here. And there've been some really good games. I remember the end of that 2017 game, double overtime, some technical fouls, it was a pretty heated game. So, at different points, the people involved, I think, have really kind of got behind this, All-Star series and, tried to make it a big deal. The issue I see with Kentucky side is, just getting having it where you get all the players that can represent Kentucky there to the game and being part of it. Whereas Indiana hasn't had that issue as many times. It's become tougher, the window to play these games. It used to be, you have all summer basically. And there were, back in the day, there was like a 3-week process, all-star deal. I mean, you have 2 weeks of camp and all this stuff. And, now it's condensed down, which I think is probably the way to go. But, with Kentucky, it's not necessarily a big, we always name the Indiana All-Stars. It's a big deal when they're named and the Mr. Basketball thing. And seems to me, and I'm not there, so I don't know all of it, but, the actual process of naming the All-Stars, they have a tryout system and that sort of thing. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, I guess, is the bottom line to get all the players involved who should be there.
Yeah. Also, I think that because Kentucky does not produce a ton of high level talent, you see few, if any, players that are going to Louisville or Kentucky to play. And I think that makes a huge difference because though this year is an exception, normally you're going to see players that are going to Indiana, but there's to Purdue, to Notre Dame, to other schools in the state. I think that plays a part because all those guys are not that well, and they're usually going to smaller schools someplace else. And I think that plays a role, not having a UK or UK guy on those rosters for them.
Well, and I know too, it's important too when your flagship university coaches are know the importance of this game. And Matt Painter, he's from, he bends over backwards to make sure his guys are there and part of it. He knows what a big deal it is. Obviously Mike Woodson now, he knows what a big deal it. Tom Crean was good. He knew what a big deal it was for these guys to be involved. I don't think on the Kentucky side, like I know they've had trouble. The Kentucky coaches, they want their guys there, on campus and playing this. So, and Louisville was the same way with Patino. It was harder for them to make sure they had their guys there, to be part of it. And to your point, this year, looking at Kentucky, they've got, Bellarmine, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, West Virginia State, Jacksonville State, Northern Kentucky, New Orleans. Those are all good programs, but they don't have the IU, Purdue, or in their case UK or Louisville recruits right now. So it is a little bit just the overall talent level. The population in the state's not as dense either. So that plays a factor as well. But I know people have raised the possibility of playing possibly Ohio or Illinois or, I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. I mean, this has always been Kentucky, Indiana. I think if you don't do it, maybe you just don't do it at all, and because why would it be important to Ohio or Illinois to start something from scratch? I'm not sure that would be the way to go either, but maybe I'm wrong. But, I think, the Kentucky, Indiana, it still carries some weight. The rivalry does. And, I always think it's a fun event, but, times change. And, back in the day, this was super important. It would sell out Hinkle Fieldhouse for, but no all-star games do that anymore. And it's kind of the way the world is now.
Absolutely. What do you have coming up next, Kyle, besides obviously tonight coverage from tonight's game?
Yeah, I got a couple stories about the All-Stars. I've got a story on a guy who's been to every Indian All-Star game, Kentucky and Indiana, since 1956, if you can believe that. He's
both sides?
Both sides.
Wow.
He had some good stories, so I actually writing that right now.
What's his name? You got to throw his name out. We got to hear his name at least. Give him a shout out.
Benny Crow. He's from Kokomo, and he went to the first game when he was 16. It was Oscar Robertson, 1956, and he said he would have gone in 55, but he didn't have his driver's license yet, so he had to wait till he got his driver's license.
Oh man, when that comes out, you've got to get me hooked up with him because he sounds like a character.
He's a character. He had some great stories. He's 82. Has a little hard time hearing, but man, what fun to talk to him. And he's going to be down there in Owensboro. Actually, Saturday at Southport, they're going to give him a little plaque. And
will he be there tonight?
He will. No, not the junior game. He'll be at the Owensboro game on Friday. But his brother
Benny
goes
Crow
with him.
Kokomo.
Yeah, his brother goes with him to all these games, and he used to go down to Louisville and play. They used to have like 3-on-3 street ball tournament.
Yeah.
And he would play in those, and he was playing up into his 70s. At the local Kokomo Y. So just a big basketball guy, and it was fun to talk to him about his memories and kind of why he still goes to these games. But I can't imagine that's a record that'll ever be topped.
No, and it is amazing. And if he's lucid, like I can tell that he is, there is no one I find more fascinating to sit down with than people like Benny Crow or Joe McDuffie, another older guy. I know, an 88 guy. Joe, that's right. Joe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those guys like that are lucid, they have got a book in their head that maybe multiple books that I wish we could extract out the story. Seriously. That's amazing, Benny. That's just a cool deal. Look forward to that coming out, Kyle. Thank you so much, brother. I look forward to seeing you tonight.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We got plenty more. Dustin Schutte's with me. We'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for a relaxed...
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
I don't recall. All right, so do we just have Bob Kravitz left?
Yeah, because you were talking about having Jordan holes, but
that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, yeah. So,
but Aaron can join us after 10, I think.
That's fine. Do you let me know when is he for sure joining?
No, he can. He's sending the link and say, because I told him just to text me if he got free.
Okay, that's fine.
Tell him it wouldn't be till like 10:40 anyway.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll
go ahead and shoot that over to him.
Benny Crow from Kokomo.
It'll be easy to remember.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, we've got to get to some of those clips.
Yeah, I've got plenty of them. I don't know do you remember which ones were which? I can refresh you real quick on which questions I have, if you need to write them down.
Go ahead.
So I've got, for Stephen Carr, I've got your question.
I don't remember what I asked. Oh, I just asked him why he came here.
I have both of Kevin's questions. I don't remember any of the topics. I just know who's did them because I had to clip them this morning. I have both of Kevin's questions. I have Rick Bozich's question. And that's it for Stephen Carr. For Handy.
Well, you know what? Why don't you just introduce what they are?
Well, I don't know what they are. I just know what's presented them. But I do have the clip that's about Jaron Handy talking about the rabbits.
So you don't know what the question is?
No, I was just getting the who had the question because I was trying to do it quickly this morning because I knew you said you needed them.
Well, just knowing who asked the question doesn't really help me.
Well, shoot,
that's okay. I'm just saying.
Well, I have all the stuff that you
relax.
had. If you remember what you asked, I can do stuff with you.
Right. I understand. I'm just, as a teaching moment for you, was just letting you know in the future, just knowing who asked the question. I have no idea. I can't remember what the questions they asked yesterday. But that is on the.
Well, here, I got to go ahead and bring us back in, but.
Yeah,
a month or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. I hope everyone's having a great week. Got the opportunity to talk to Stephen Carr yesterday, along with Jaron Handy, Indiana's USC running back and defensive lineman from Auburn. Two critical points. I'll tell you, Dustin, in talking to both of them, you can tell they're veterans.
Mm-hmm.
They spoke very well with the media. Even Jaron, he's got a lot of energy. Wasn't shy. You can kind of tell, like him. You can say he's ready to go. Coming in from Auburn, when you come in from a program like that, you know that they're on go all the time because they have to be. USC, the same kind of thing. So you're getting that kind of mindset already. But you can, in talking to them, it gives you an understanding of the person, and especially with Stephen Carr, I'm like, man, this dude, you can tell he is a veteran. And that in itself plays immense importance in the locker room.
Yeah. And I think that what you're starting to see is Tom Allen recruits a certain character, a certain personality. He wants guys on that team that believe. And a lot of that time, you look at Tywan Mullen, and I always think about this. When he was coming into Indiana, when he was still playing in high school, he said, in 2019, we're going to be in the top 25. And they cracked, I don't remember if it was the Associated Press or coaches poll, but they got up to number 24. He spoke it into existence. So while you're not going to always get a roster full of those kind of guys, I think that's what Tom Allen looks for when he's looking at the transfer portal. Who's going to come in and make a difference? Who's going to be a team leader? I've got to have these guys who are not only, former 4-star and 5-star players. I want guys who are going to come in and they're not going to be bashful. They're going to come in and lead. And I think that that's what you're getting. And especially, as you mentioned, when you're playing at USC, when you're playing at Auburn, the expectations are high and you're always getting that media attention. So they are always ready to go. And that's a good thing for Indiana moving, trying to get to a third straight bowl game, trying to compete for a Big Ten title this year. You've got to have a lot of players on that roster who believe. And so to go out and get those guys, it's absolutely huge.
Not only that, Tom Allen and staff are doing a tremendous job having created their own environment and culture here. Yep. It is one that people want to be a part of. These guys want to be a part of it, but it's also great for them to bring a little bit of that USC, of that Auburn, of that Stanford, of wherever it is, of that culture in, of that Pac-12, of that SEC bring a little flavor of big time football. Not all these guys have seen that on this team. You know, if they were here, they got a big glimpse of it last year. But continuing to see guys like that, it is, again, that is beneficial to your team. You're bringing in just a little bit of extra flavor, and man, oh man, that is just going to add to what has already been good.
Well, and let me throw this out there too. These guys that play at places like Auburn, USC, some of these other big-time programs that are transferring into Indiana, they're not afraid of the moment. They've been in these big moments. They know these guys have played against Oregon. They've played against Washington, Alabama, LSU. They've played in these big-time games. They know what it means. So when you line up against, they're not going to be intimidated to play a team like Ohio State. They're not going to be intimidated to play Wisconsin, Iowa, or Michigan, or Penn State. And I'm not saying that guys on the Indiana roster now are afraid of that. We saw last year they weren't afraid of it. But I think it speaks to the point when you go up and those guys are going to have the mentality, we should win this game. And in the past, and what we've seen so many times is Indiana, a lot of times when they take the field, there's a little bit of a hesitation. We see we're playing Penn State, we're playing Michigan. We don't play well on the final stretch. Obviously, that was a race last season, but these guys that are coming in, they don't care who they're playing. They think that they can win. And I think that that's a huge confidence booster, and that's contagious. I mean, Tom Allen, his energy, his enthusiasm is contagious as is. And when you have more guys on that roster who are willing to be that way, it just permeates throughout the entire building.
You know, and I wondered if all of these, well, not all of these, but there have been a time, it's probably, I don't know, 6 now, maybe we talked about this, big time transfers coming in as far as big time programs. And I wondered, I asked Stephen Card, did that play a role in him coming here, which, because they were all before him, he was kind of the last domino to fall. But let's go ahead and just play that, John.
Stephen, coming from USC, and I know you've had a previous relationship with your coach before, but there's been a ton of transfers coming in from pretty traditionally large programs, all before you. We just spoke to one is coming in, had come in here, and then you've either from Ole Miss or wherever they're coming in. But did that play any role in choosing Indiana? Because Indiana's not a traditional power, obviously. Had a great year last year and things look good, but did that have anything to do with you picking coming here?
I think it had a little bit to do with it, but the Indiana team was great, man. I watched some of their games last season, and it was hard not to pick this school. You know what I mean? But with the transfers that came in, I give credit to the recruiting staff, man. They did a swell job.
The fact that he brought back swell, first of all, that's that was my favorite part. It caught me so off guard. I think it caught a lot of us off guard because he busted that out like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of his back pocket, man. Swell. I love that. And it's awesome. I love that. That was just a great deal. But he's also got a great relationship with Delon McCullough. Let's don't forget that. He had some injuries at USC. He's one of those guys that has just been injury prone. And when you're at a place like that, again, man, you get passed over like that. Brother, you go down with an injury, trust me, there's 3 more waiting in line to pass you up. And that happens easily at places like that. But he is, I think, at the right place at the right time. Indiana loses Stevie Scott. They don't have a veteran. They don't have a guy that's got a lot of carries. I mean, Samson James got some carries, but he didn't get a ton of carries. Most of those were toward the end when Samson was hurt a little bit. I mean, he didn't get a ton of carries. So, man, Stephen Carr might be – it's hard to say that, but he might be the most important transfer of these transfers right now because Indiana's running game has probably been the least effective of anything else that you have. And I think they need to, that's gotta improve for Indiana to improve. They just have not gotten anything from the running game in the last few years. And that's the only area they haven't. And if you add that element, a guy that has to be feared. There was nobody that I think no one feared anybody in Indiana's running game at all. So there was no respect for that, which amazes me on how well Indiana was able to do passing, because you're able to focus more on that. But you add that element of running, and that's going to – and if Michael Penix is healthy, that makes Indiana all the more dangerous.
Well, I think that a little bit of that is by design. I mean, when Kalen DeBoer came in, it was kind of an extension of the run game with screen passes and dump off passes to Stevie Scott and Samson James and some of those guys. So it's a little bit by design. But what I think, and we talked about this in the past too, Stevie Scott really wasn't a home run threat. Indiana didn't have a home run guy that you could hand the ball off to, and they were a threat to take it 60, 70 yards to the end zone. I'm not saying I think Stevie Scott had a few of those big plays, but he just wasn't that kind of player.
Nope, never.
Big time.
Longest run I ever saw him have was 12 yards, personally.
Well, I'd have to go back and see. But the other point is, you say Stephen Carr comes in at a good time. I agree with that, because he has that relationship with Delon McCullough. At the same time, you don't have Mike Hart here anymore. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but a lot of times those position coaches develop relationships with certain players. This is kind of a clean slate. I mean, you're going to have a brand new backfield. You're going to have guys competing for that number one job. Maybe it will be Samson James at the number one. Maybe it'll be Stephen Carr at the number one. We don't know. The point is their running back depth got a lot better with him coming in, whether he's the number one guy or the number two guy, and having that big playability, able to catch the ball out of the backfield. That elevates Indiana's offense, gives them another weapon. And like you said, I mean, a lot of this is going to depend on Michael Penix's health, but having that effective run game to be able to close out games in the fourth quarter, to pick up a few first downs when you got a touchdown lead, that's absolutely huge.
I think, and I don't mean this to be negative, but the biggest gain in a long, long time for Indiana football was Mike Hart leaving to go to Michigan. Mike Hart leaving opened up Delon McCullough coming here, which opened up his sons coming here, which opened up Stephen Carr coming here, which is going to open up so many other things. That might, other than hiring Tom Allen, this might be the second most important turnout 3 years from now to be the second most important hire in this process of Indiana football's rise. The running game, like I said, the running game was doing nothing. It had done nothing under Mike Hart, and so I had no problems. And he left. I know it's his alma mater, but man, he left a good program to go, I guess, help his old alma mater. But I don't think he's helping him at the right time, because that's a sinking ship to me that is still taking on water. But he did Indiana the greatest favor in the history of the world. So that is my point. And it's Indiana should be grateful, not that he was bad, but that turn of events is going to create such a continuous gift. It's going to be the gift that keeps giving for a long time for Indiana.
I think I agree with you. I think Mike Hart leaving was a at the time it was kind of bittersweet, but now it looks like a blessing in disguise, right? But I'm going to give Mike Hart some credit here. I think he's going to be fine at Michigan because he's familiar with that program. And a lot of these position coaches, he's got the experience and he can improve guys, but a lot of it's going to be recruiting for Michigan. They just got Donovan Edwards. They're bringing in Donovan Edwards, who's a 4 or 5 star running back. They're going to get more of those guys if he's on that staff. He's more familiar with it. And when it's your alma mater, this isn't necessarily always the case. And he did a good job recruiting at Indiana, but there's going to be more heart in it. He's got, not to make a pun there, but he's going to put more of his heart and soul into it because he knows it. It's what he's familiar with. He talked about when he got to Michigan, this was his dream job. He wanted to be on this Michigan staff. So he's going to put,
it makes sense. It makes sense.
So I think it's a win-win situation. I mean, Michigan.
Oh my gosh.
Michigan's situation was, whether Mike Hart was on that staff or not, I mean, I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference in terms of what Jim Harbaugh's future is going to be. But I think it's a good move for him. When you look at where Indiana is and where Michigan is currently, you can say it's a lateral move, but I think for him, this was a big step up because it is his alma mater, because he is familiar with it. And, maybe that's one step closer to being an offensive coordinator. And if he wants to be a head coach someday, that might be the next big step.
We'll have to wait to the next hour to hear from Jaron Handy, and we'll hear more from Stephen Carr as well. Bob Kravitz will join us next, I believe. We'll talk with him about all of this and plenty more, but I'm looking forward to it. But I just continue to wonder how much better this Indiana offense can be with a running game that is elevated, with better players in the backfield, with better coaching in the background, with a better mix of him, of DeLon bringing in some things maybe to give to Nick Sheridan. Look at that. It's, man, it is. And the thing is, it's going to be kind of unknown to the opponents. At least that's why Indiana's going to go down and upset Iowa to open the game. But we'll be back to talk about all that and more. Bob Kravitz joins us next on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for...
So when you hear that double, are you starting and then stopping and restarting?
Yeah, it's because I feel like you're going to say something else. I can edit that out. It's fine.
I was going to say, really or just let it roll. Don't ever... Yeah, just let it roll.
Go in and clip that out. Anyway, what I was going to say... When you have Kravitz on, I'm going to go back and look at each of those clips, and I'll be able to tell you what each of them is.
This is not the I pulled up. This is not the transcript I sent to you because this one only has.
It's only
ironically. Yeah, but ironically, it has both of my questions on it. To both guys. Like, bro, the one for Jaron Handy was a long answer because I asked about it. I had the first question for him.
Now, for your Jaron Handy questions, both of them come. It's like one of the clips has Kevin's question first, and the other one has Rick's question first. It's two for it's back to back.
That's fine. But we don't need to hear. But we don't need to hear the questions. Is the thing that takes up way too much time because I'm already.
They're all really short though.
But here's the thing: I'm setting them up live, and then there's no reason for me to do that.
I got you.
That's the whole purpose of it. So that's why you do that. You don't. So from future forward, please.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Kravitz. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I played golf with John Laskowski Monday. I think you were invited. I can't remember.
No, I wasn't. That's okay.
Damn it. I meant to because we needed a freaking fourth.
Well, I'm your guy. I'm your guy, man.
Well, I thought I freaking said it. That's why I'm so. I thought for sure I did because I was like, God damn it. Well, that really sucks now. But
it's okay.
That turd. He turned 68 Monday. He shot a 77.
Oh man,
he was going for 75 on 18. He screwed 18 up a little bit to get to 77.
Yeah, I played. Where did I play yesterday? Trophy Club. You been to Trophy Club up in Lebanon?
Oh, no.
Really nice track. Tough.
I was just thinking yesterday here, I was like, there are, just in Bloomington, these nice little courses, Stonecrest. Well, here, I mean, this course is in good shape now at Eagle Point. But the one in Martinsville, the one on the north end of Bloomington. What's the one down in Bedford where the Claude Aikens?
Oh, sorry, y'all. We're coming back.
And seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Wednesday to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, joined now by the great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Sir, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Great. What are we wearing there on the lid there? I didn't get to see it. I can't tell. Just old Callaway.
No
just old Callaway. No hockey team. Speaking of Callaway, I was talking about all the nice little courses there. There are so many great little courses out and about in the state. Not the big time courses, which are great too, but there are so many just really nice courses out to play.
Yeah, you were talking about Bloomington. See, I didn't play golf until I was in probably my 30s. So when I was in Bloomington, golf was not an option. So I like to play the foul course. I hear great things about it.
Oh, you haven't played it yet?
Haven't played there yet, but yeah, this whole state's great. We're up where I live in the northern suburbs. I'm surrounded by golf courses.
There's one called Otis Park down in Bedford. It's where they have the Claude Akins Memorial Golf Tournament. He's from there.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy? I played there once last year. They got a nice big bandstand out in front. It's just nice little track. Stonecrest down right over here. They had like 3 different 9-hole courses.
Cool.
Very nice, but out and about. And Johnny Boy shot him a 77 the other day.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing is he did not hit a drive that was not a one massive drive, but I'd say 15 of them were down the middle.
That's my game. Short.
His irons. He's good with those irons.
Well, what I've learned from this conversation so far is if I play with Laz, get plenty of strokes.
That's right. I guarantee I'm giving you the tips right now. What's new with you, man?
Nothing much. I'm playing a lot of golf and trying to get a little work in here and there. And wrote a piece about Lily King, the great swimmer. Got her talking about her rivalry with Yulia Efimova, the Russian woman who's been popped for doping a couple of times. But it's a slow time of year. It's a real challenge for people in my business to come up with things to write about. Maybe I can talk them into sending me to the Bahamas with IU. We'll see about that.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing, man. I've got to see if I can talk myself into sending me down to that, but that would be something incredible to cover. But yeah, are both of those? I know Lily King is competing. Is the Russian? She coming back?
Yes, she's coming back. She finished second in the Russian trials, I guess, and she won't be. Obviously, Russia is not going to be competing in the Olympics, but a couple of their athletes will be under the Olympic flag, kind of independent. I don't know how this whole thing works. It seems to me that if you've been popped twice for drugs, you probably shouldn't be in the Olympics. But, I'm not a smart guy, so I just don't get that. I mean, and Lily feels the same way. If you get popped for drugs, not just once, but multiple times, your career ought to be over in that sport.
Well, not only that, I mean, the countries, I mean, they're the ones that are behind that. So everyone knows that, but I guess they're not going to kick a country out, but it is, but that's the same with international sports, whether it's FIFA or whomever. It's like a gang of thieves that are always just with their hands out, grabbing bags full of cash. And that's all it's about. And these people like Lily King, who are clean, who bust their ass and do nothing but train the right way. And they're training uphill.
Well, the funny thing about Lily is, during the early days of the pandemic, I guess back in April or so, she was training along with some of her mates in Howard Lake, which is just this little lake on the south side of Bloomington. I went out and took a couple of pictures of it, and they were swimming, next to snapping turtles. It was just crazy what they were willing to do to stay in shape and keep a feel for the water.
That I was like, I don't even know where that place is. I live south of Bloomington on a lake and don't know where that one is. So there you go.
Well,
that tells you how small that
is. Going there. So it's hard to find, but it's in the back of a housing, an apartment complex. It doesn't look like the kind of place where you want to put on your swimsuit and go for a casual swim, but these guys are hardcore and they'll do what they have to do to stay in shape.
Why don't they have access to like university pools or things like that?
Well, back in the early days of the pandemic, they didn't have it.
Wouldn't let them open.
Nothing was open.
You know, we continue to hear of problems. Speaking of the Olympics, whether it's with the pandemic or everything else, that it's going to be a trick pulling this thing off. I mean, last time you had lots of talk in Brazil because of the water problems and the pollution and all that stuff. Now you've got another issue that Japan is so far. I don't understand with knowing you're hosting the Olympics. They seem so far behind with vaccinating and all of that. And I would have thought that the Olympic Committee, the world would have said, you people are getting vaccinated.
Well, as someone who has covered a lot of stuff over in Japan, I mean, they get things done. And they get the things done quickly. So it's shocking to me that their vaccination numbers are so lousy, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I don't think fans. I don't know that families are even going to be going over there. It's going to be a weird situation. But hell, the whole last year and a half, 2 years has been odd.
And I know that they've wanted to potentially postpone it. Some have, but I just don't think that that's going to be it's realistic. Not now, after already been postponed once. They're too far into it. I think they're going to go forward no matter what. That might suck for some of these athletes because it will not. I don't know if it's in the back of their mind, but maybe it's not. If they're able to block that out. Hopefully they can, but I know they've had a big issue with volunteers losing tens of thousands of volunteers to work the Olympics over there. So,
well, maybe they'll bring it to Indianapolis. We're the backup for everybody. So
I was going to say, or bring me over. I'll get some people. We'll go over there. I'm vaccinated. I'll go do some stuff over there. That'd be cool. I haven't made it to an Olympics.
I've been to 12 or 13 of them, and they're really amazing. It's just amazing to go be at the Olympics and not only to see the athletes, but just to hang out with the journalists from around the world and volunteers. And let me tell you, there's nothing like singing karaoke at a little wine bar in the media village in Sochi, Russia. We've had some fun over at the Olympics, believe me.
Yeah, that's that right there. Those are the greatest memories of all. It's not the competition, although sometimes the competition are the things that are indelible.
Right.
Leave those indelible marks. Lily King, we just talked about her. She is going to go down as one of the greatest American swimmers of all time.
It looks like if she holds serve in the 100, she's not Michael Phelps. She doesn't swim that many different strokes. I mean, she just swims the breast stroke, but what a great thing for IU and IU swimming. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her family. Ray Luz, the fine swim coach at IU. It's great for Indiana University, and of course, Purdue has got David Badaya, among others. The diver who's going to represent the United States. So, it's going to be interesting.
Where does she fit in, you think? You got Katie Ledecky, you got Madam Butterfly from Louisville. God dang it, I'm missing I can't think of her name right now.
What's it?
She's a breaststroke, Madam Butterfly, they called her. But
I don't know what you're talking about, but
daggone, I'll pull it up. But where does she? Is she going to go down as potentially the top women's swimmer of all time after this Olympics?
I don't think so. Just because she doesn't swim. I mean, that's Ledecky. That's Ledecky, because Ledecky swims so many different events. Lily is a breaststroker. That's it. I mean, that's what she does. So, but I think she's certainly going to be the most remembered, at least among the IU folks, because because of what she started over where were we? Rio de Janeiro. I remember being in the holding room kind of area, and everybody started saying, "Did you hear what she told Michelle Tafoya? Holy crap!" And yeah, we waited for her, and to her great credit, she didn't back off. She doubled down. I don't want to race a cheater. Good for her.
Yeah, and it makes her look so much better. But what is the Olympics or the international community ever going to do anything about this? This is not new. This has been going on for 1,000 years, man. It goes like to soccer, the whole thing. It's always something with them.
Well, look, Russia has had a program of doping for years and years and years, and they've been.
It's an Olympic sport to them.
It is, and they've been canceled. They will not compete in a lot of sports, but individual athletes can go to the court for arbitration in sport, or court of arbitration in sport, and they can individually get reinstated, which is what this Efimova was able to do. I don't know how that process works, because if you've been popped twice for doping, I don't see what your case is going to be. Did
they give an explanation?
Not that I've noticed. I mean, I think part of it is that she got popped back in 2016 and did serve about a year on that.
Of which she was probably doping the whole time and never stopped training.
Of course. Of course. It's Russia. If you ever have a chance to see a documentary called Icarus about the Russian doping program, it's absolutely incredible. So you try and check that out, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about the Russian doping program that they've had in place for years and years and years. And the CAS, the Court of Arbitration in Sport, they don't want to mess with Putin. They just don't want to mess with him. It's a strange deal.
Mary T. Maher,
Madam Butterfly. That's the one. Thanks,
Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, I could not. And she's from Evansville. And Jennifer's down in Evansville in Lily King territory. But yeah, so that was some great swimmers. But yeah,
I can't believe we're talking about Olympic swimming. This is great.
Hey, man. What'd you say at the beginning of this? You're always looking for stuff. Trust me. We were talking about softball earlier.
Yeah,
that's been fun to watch, man. That's been a fun little thing, dude. I was watching that Oklahoma game, Florida State game last night, and it's exciting and it's fun. That's a fast-paced game.
It's great. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my wife and I went to a little bar restaurant the other day, and they had softball, and I said to her, sometimes when there's no hockey on, I'll actually sit and watch women's softball. I shouldn't say women's softball because it's such a softball. And she's like, "What, are you crazy?" I said, "No, it's great fun. You really need to watch it. I mean, they're terrific athletes. The game is fast. I mean, I don't know. I genuinely enjoy it."
I enjoy watching the Little League World Series for a different reason. It does not have that fast pace, but yeah, this has been fun. You saw James Madison upset a team that is playing for a national championship right now, an unseeded team to start this off. But yeah, it has been fun, and that's an area of the women's sporting area that I think they're going to take full advantage of. And
they should. They should. It should be an Olympic sport again. I remember covering it down in Atlanta, and I don't believe women's softball is an Olympic sport right now. I could be wrong. Maybe one of our listeners could set me straight.
The NBA is still happening. Yogi's still alive. Juwan Morgan's still alive. The Clippers and the Jazz in the NBA playoffs. How about the fact that Juwan Morgan's in the NBA, period? He's playing in the playoffs. He's still playing. He's still playing, and Romeo Langford is not.
I know.
That's just amazing to see that. But Yogi's still hanging on in the league and in the playoffs. Got to give a shout out to him as well.
Yeah, I tell you, I watched after the hockey game, of course, because that's first priority. I watched Utah and LA, right? Utah and LA. And man, it's funny. Utah is kind of a small market too, but they spend money. They're among the top teams in terms of payroll, and they've gotten it done. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, where was he drafted? And then you look at in Denver, Nikola Jokic was the 41st player drafted, and he's the MVP. He's the lowest drafted player ever to win MVP. So to me, it kind of gives the Pacers a little bit of hope, that maybe you don't necessarily need a super team with, Harden and Durant and Kyrie. Oh, I think they're going to win the whole damn thing. But the fact that Denver and Utah are where they are, I think speaks to the possibilities for the Indiana Pacers, because those are not mega markets. They don't get all the great free agents, but they are willing to spend money, and they've drafted very wisely.
And oh man, what was I? Tag on it. Had something else to talk about, but I lost it.
You want me to come up with something?
Go right ahead, please do, because I had a
All
point
right.
I was going to make.
What the hell are the Pacers doing? I have no idea. I mean, I think,
nobody does.
I think they're waiting to find out who's going to be available after the playoffs. But for Christ's sake, they've had conversations with Bjorkgren, and they have not said one way or the other whether they're going to retain him. And if I'm Nate Bjorkgren, I'm like, the hell with you people. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he's waiting around. His future's in
limbo.
Well, would you bring in Terry Stotts? I mean, it seems like he's going to be a strong candidate for that job. Or do you go after and see who's going to be available at the end of the playoffs? I mean, to me, if you're looking for a change, I think Terry Stotts is a good fit.
I do too.
I mean,
I'll tell you another guy, Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
Mike D'Antoni was a guy who was up for the job when Bjorkgren got it, and I think they might say, "Look, we took a chance on a young first-time guy. Let's go for somebody we know can coach a basketball team, and we know has the right personality." And I admit that I'm a major Mike D'Antoni fan. We've been friends for years and years and years, going back to our Denver days. But I think he would be a terrific candidate for the Indiana Pacers.
And I think that they are I think defensively they have the skill where if you improve offensively, depending on what comes back, I mean, with Karis LeVert, TJ Warren healthy, we'll see what happens with Miles Turner, whether he stays. Like, if that team can score 130 points a game, they can contend in the East. I think good enough defensively.
I agree. The thing is, I mean, defensively they were terrible last year. Offensively, they were fourth in pace. They were top 10 in points in transition, points in the paint. They were very good offensive team, despite the fact that they were always hurt. And it's defense that's really been the issue. And, it makes you wonder why they let the great Dan Burke go, the assistant coach who's their defensive coordinator / guru. And he's now with the Philadelphia 76ers, and they're doing pretty well. So I think they need to improve defensively. I think they need to move Miles, and that's not a criticism of Miles. I just think that's a luxury they can't afford, having two bigs like him, especially with the development of Goga Bitadze. So I would strongly suspect that Miles Turner is going to get moved this offseason.
My question is, if you're going to move why would you not move Sabonis? Because I feel like Miles Turner is more versatile. I know Sabonis is a great rebounder, a great scorer in the post. I think Miles is a better defender. So I'm interested to get that opinion as to why the Pacers would move Miles Turner as opposed to Sabonis.
I think Sabonis has more skills. I think he does more things for you, especially offensively. I mean, they run their entire offense through the high post and Sabonis, and I think that's the way the league is going. Okay. Look, shot blockers, rim protectors are very important, but I just feel like Sabonis does more things to help you win than Turner does. You know, Turner's never going to be a post-up guy. He's always going to be playing the 5 on defense and playing the 4 on offense. I think that they get caught in cross matches. It's not optimal. So I just think that's a luxury they can't afford. And I think they move Miles for I don't know what they move him for, but I think he's gone this offseason. What do you got coming up next? Well, that's a great question, Jim, because it's a slow time, and I'm waiting for something to happen on the Pacers front. I had right now I've got a Lily King story up, and I did a long mailbag that people might want to look at. But right now it's a bit of a slow time, and I'm just trying to come up with things to write about. Go to The Athletic. You can find it. Be a subscriber. I am. And what, you playing golf today someplace? Yeah, I'm playing at Prairie View and Men's Club, and hopefully I win a couple of bucks for a skin or two. Tell Tony Van Ness is out there. Tell him I said hey. I will do that. Well, have a great day, brother. We appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you soon. All right, buddy. You guys take care. The great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joining us here. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for a relaxing night.
All right.
Since y'all went a little over, feel free to take this segment a little over as well, so they're evened out.
Take this one over?
So the next segment that's coming up, normally it would go until
37.
Till 37. If you want to go over to make it not too short, feel free.
Yeah, no, I usually do.
Okay. Oh, and I went ahead and looked through all the clips. I can go ahead and tell you what each of them are real quick.
Oh, we haven't talked about Major League Baseball. Did we talk about that?
I have that. You talked about it, but I have that clip for it still. The Buster Olney thing that you had me.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll use that toward the end.
And then, because
that way it's not part of a big clip or something.
Yeah. And so the Jaron Handy stuff, I have Rick asked about Indiana's breakout season, how that affected him. And then you followed up asking about him coming from the SEC and how that, helps him move to the Big Ten.
I like his first question too, though. The Rabbits. You got to see the Rabbits.
I have the Rabbits one too. Yeah.
You got to see the Rabbits.
And then, let's see. Bozich asked Stephen Carr what turned the tide for IU in the transfer portal. Kevin asked, and this is a two for you and then, or Kevin and then you. Kevin asked how his being cousin to Ty Freifogel affected him.
I'm not gonna be able to remember all that.
Let me shoot you a screenshot of all this just so you know what's.
Actually, I'm just trying to find the stupid transcript.
I know it's a lot of clips. That transcript you sent me was the partial transcript. It's not the entire thing.
Oh, that one was the partial. Oh, okay.
I'm back tomorrow too. If you want to save some of those for tomorrow.
Yeah. We don't need them all today.
All of them. Well, I'm shooting over the list to you right now, just so you can have for reference.
Let's just hear.
Let's do the one about the Rabbits.
That one and maybe one more. He's got plenty, doesn't he?
I have 3 for Handy.
That's today, though. There's more that could be gotten, though, right?
I can grab more if you need me to, yes.
Tomorrow, like for later.
Yes, for tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring us back.
If you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joins me today. Just finished up with Mr. Bob Kravitz, which is always a joy. Indiana football met with Jaron Harden yesterday, the DL transfer from Auburn. He's got life. These guys all have different personalities. I talked about Stephen Carr. You can tell he is a veteran. I mean, Handy's a veteran too, but you can tell he's got that. He's a defensive line. He's got that personality. He's ready to go. You can just kind of tell, which that's what you need. That rubs off, man. That's talked about bringing in those kind of veteran type guys. Let's see. This first question is this talking about the breakout season, I think, and coming over from the SEC.
Yes, sir.
John, let her roll, man.
I see your cousin is Ty Freifogel. I'm curious about what role that played in the decision and having a family member here, a fellow family member on.
Yeah, I mean, last year you were down in Auburn playing in the SEC. Indiana had sort of a breakout season. Did you watch him at all? Did you see him? What were your impressions of Indiana football before you got there?
I watched since my cousin played. I watched every game. Like I felt like they should have won every game, the Ohio State game, and I was really upset with them with the Ole Miss game because I feel like they really could have pulled that one out.
Jim?
Speaking of the SEC, coming from Auburn and the SEC and now to the Big Ten, are you looking forward to being in the Big Ten Conference and playing in that as far as people talk about them being different, and there are some differences, but are you looking forward to that challenge?
I'm definitely looking forward to the challenge, you know what I'm saying? And people be telling me like Big Ten got some really good O-linemen and stuff like that, and I like to pass rush, I like to get sacks and stuff like that. So I feel like it'll really help my game and take me to that next step.
He's ready to get on it, man.
What a comment. What a comment. Some of the best.
There's better one coming yet. There's a better one. The very first, I think it was the first question, his first comment, John, get that one pulled up. He was asked about, was it coming to Bloomington or what turn was that? Go ahead and play.
Hey, Jaron, what has your impressions just been of Bloomington? I know when I talked to you earlier, you said you've never been up here. What's it been like? What have you been able to do in your first few days here?
I love Indiana, you know what I'm saying? I know it's different from Auburn and stuff like that, but like for me, being from Mississippi, seeing them trees and mountains and stuff, I be seeing deers in the yard and rabbits just running around. You don't see that, you know what I'm saying, all the time. So it's kind of different, but I like it though. Definitely like it.
Happy guy. He's a happy guy and a personality. So that's something you want to see. I think that he's going to be blend in well. And like I said, rub off. You need a little extra. And so looking forward to what all these different transfers can bring in to a program that is already on a very high trajectory.
Yeah. And the thing that I like too is the confidence he brings. I mean, it wasn't, sometimes when players transfer, and this speaks to personality, like a lot of times you'll hear, I'm just hoping to help out any way I can, or, I'm looking to, just make this team a little bit better. But his comment is, I'm looking forward to going against some of the best offensive linemen in the Big Ten and getting sacks and embarrassing them, basically. And that's not a lot of players are willing to go out on the limb and speak that way. So to have that confidence to say that I'm coming to the Big Ten and I'm going to dominate the offensive line, and I'm going to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think he even said something to the extent during this interview is, I'm going to bring pressure so that way it helps our linebackers. It helps our secondary. They don't have to blitz as much. And maybe that's still going to be part of the package, but having that pass rush there is a huge benefit. I mean, we saw when you are able to get pressure on the quarterback and they have to throw off their back foot or they have to, tuck it and take a sack or throw it away. It makes a huge difference, and it would have made a huge difference in that game against Ohio State. So I love what Indiana's bringing. I love the personality that they got. And again, the experience and having those guys play at places like Auburn, USC, Ole Miss. It's just an all-around great fit. And Tom Allen is definitely recruiting certain guys from the portal to bring to Indiana. And like, it just gets me. I have no dog in this fight. I cover all 14 teams. I don't care who finishes 12-0 or who finishes 0-12, but it's got me excited to watch this Indiana team next year.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the feeling for a lot of people, and not just Indiana fans. I mean, this has got to be exciting for Fox Sports, for the Big Ten. They like this stuff because TV ratings, baby, TV ratings. When you have an upstart challenge the authority, the hierarchy, Ohio State's and the Wisconsin's, people like that. They get tired of seeing, they like seeing the Kings knocked off the thrones, especially when it's a shocker. And Indiana doing that would be a shocker because it is a program that had just sat in dormancy for so long. And then to make this rise, it's kind of crazy. It ain't kind of crazy. It's crazy.
It is great. And to do it in such a short period of time. I mean, you might say, 3 years is in today's world, you want to produce results immediately, but to basically go from, as you mentioned, a team that might make a bowl game every 10 years or have a winning season every 10 years to now having a chance to go to 3 straight bowl games under one head coach to challenge for a Big Ten title. I mean, you've done that in basically 5 seasons. There's pressure on Indiana.
With no head coaching experience, no previous collegiate head coaching experience at all, and to do it in the Big Ten East.
Yeah. And to get over the hump, to finally, what's going to be interesting to me is you can look at this team one of 2 ways, really. Number one would be they finally got over the hump. They beat Penn State, a ranked top 10 Penn State team. They finally beat Michigan after so many years. They haven't quite gotten over that bowl game hump, but they've gotten over so many humps, closing out games against big time opponents. The other way is, okay, now they're no longer going to be the hunter. They are the hunted. I mean, that's the way it is. That's how quickly this stuff can turn around. Michigan's going to want to get revenge. Penn State is absolutely going to want to get revenge. So it's going to be a little bit of a different feel in that locker room than it was the past 2 seasons when they were still the hunters. It's going to be interesting to see whether Indiana getting over that hump gives these players a ton of confidence and they go out and they perform, or if they don't show up to the occasion when they're going to get team's best shot. When they know, okay, we can't just roll our helmets out against Indiana. We're going to have to go play. And by the way, we've got revenge on our minds. So it's a fascinating 5th season for Tom Allen, in my opinion.
Not only that, now it's time to see the recruiting fruits. They have not had that yet. That has not transferred over to recruiting yet. But I don't know what else they would be waiting on because they're winning. They're developing players. You got 2 and 3 stars that are coming in, becoming All-Americans. So but I think they need the big time talent from within the state. If you can't get the big time talent from within your own state, I don't know how you expect to get it, further away from you. But they're doing that more and more. But man, I want to see them get that first 5-star just to see how that starts to change things even more because there's more to be changed.
Well, part of it too is we got to remember that the NCAA did allow all these players to retain an extra year of eligibility. So you have some super seniors coming back that otherwise wouldn't be returning. So that limits the size of your recruiting class. And then I think Tom Allen knows in the back of his mind, if I can get a guy through the transfer portal who has experience, I need to address these concerns. I think you're going to take that risk. I mean, that's the way college football is going. I think that 2020 we'll see more guys in the transfer portal than any other year just because of the unique circumstances the pandemic presented. So I think Indiana's recruiting, it kind of went up under Tom Allen and then it took a little bit of a dive, but I think that has a lot to do with so many guys returning, so many super seniors coming back. That I think that they took it easy on the recruiting trail this year. Now, what happens with Dylan McCullough, Charlton Warren? Obviously, Tom Allen's still a really good recruiter. Some of these new assistant coaches with SEC ties, with ties to the state of Georgia, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, with Kevin Peoples, they're going to have access to a lot of really, really good players. And so I think you're going to start to see a lot more 4-star, maybe get that 5-star in this recruiting class, especially if Indiana is challenging Ohio State for a Big Ten East title.
Yeah, I think this is,
this has to be the season you see that breakthrough in recruiting. Because you've got back-to-back bowl appearances, you've got back-to-back good seasons, you've got nothing but positive and forward trending things going on. It just would be surprised, but it also depends on the position, on what the needs are and what's available and the numbers. I don't think that they had a lot of numbers available to take in last year, and you talk about the stupid COVID thing, that is going to become a gigantic issue. Coaches have already talked about, because unless something is done to change this, you're going to have 5 years for this to wash out. That's just way too long, and they're only giving NCAA's only allowing 1 year for the added amount of transfers. That doesn't work out. So you can't say, hey, I'm giving you an extra 25 players, but next year you can't have those extra 25 players, although I'm still giving them to you.
Right.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and coaches are going to have to make the hard decision. I think maybe after this season, you might start to see a lot of coaches say, you know what, we appreciate your 4 or 5 seasons here, but we've got to move on. We've got to get new guys in here, create new opportunities. That's going to be the tough conversation. Because
where do those kids go? Because the schools that they try to go to are having the same problems. They also have the extra COVID kids.
Well, you'll probably see a lot of guys drop down a division, there's going to be a trickle down effect is what's eventually, in my opinion, going to happen. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that, because while it seems like I'm going to give the NCAA some credit because it was well-intentioned. I mean, you're talking about having normal circumstances ripped away from you. Some kids weren't able to have their season. I understand it was well-intentioned, but at the same time, it's created a big problem, and it's going to trickle down from the FBS all the way down to Division III and maybe even the NAIA level.
Chris wants to know, says whenever he watches Indiana play, they lose. How much will someone pay him to not watch this year? Well, you must not watch many games last year at all then, Chris, because they certainly didn't have a problem with it. But I don't think that's going to affect them this season. It's going to be an interesting one, but looking forward to it. And there's yesterday I talked a little bit, and we'll talk about it more when we come back, but the potential for the college football playoff expanding. Yes. And right now that expansion is looking most likely to be 12 teams. Talked about that a little bit yesterday with Matt Taylor. We'll talk about it with you when we come back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking...
I know.
He's just ready to pull that button.
Well, sometimes it's like your rhythm's different every time. Like you'll pause differently, and I'm like, shoot.
I never know what's in my mind.
And I apologize. I clicked the wrong clip the first time.
Where are you, Dustin? Or you're back in Georgia, Kennesaw?
Yeah.
Did I tell you that one of the Rivals guys is in Kennesaw?
You did tell me that, I think last week.
Which one is it? Gorney?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. They're having a big camp this year. I think I use at it.
Where?
At the Kennesaw Brian Bohannon's camp. I mean, I don't know what that means. I'm sure they just send a coach to help with drills or something. But I will be represented. I know that much. Has Witten started as president? When's that take effect?
Who?
The IU's new president from Kennesaw State.
Like right in.
Probably July 1st, maybe.
Yeah, that's what
probably.
Yes.
That's usually the fiscal year, or whatever the hell you call it for the school, is July 1st through June 31st. $12 teams.
Yeah. Is it too many? Yeah.
No.
Because Matt
as far as Matt made a good point that there's not 12 teams that can beat Alabama, but it's not about that to me. It's when you keep them locked out, it changes things and upsets happen. Let me tell you, Alabama's quarterback goes down in the middle of a game, stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why you have to play the games.
All right, I'm bringing us back in.
Multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. Remember Luke McCaffrey transferred from Nebraska, Christian McCaffrey's brother, to Louisville. On the move again. Louisville is not going to work for him. Re-entering the transfer portal. Now we've got to re-enter.
Breaking news.
The transfer portal. Now, does he have to sit out?
Oh, that's a great question.
He already transferred to Louisville, correct?
He did. Well, I believe so. I don't know. It probably depends on if he signed a.
No. Luke McCaffrey came in last week and decided that this wasn't the place for him, Satterfield said. He wanted to come in and be a starting quarterback. So he did not. I guess he didn't officially transfer there. If he hadn't, it depends if he signed paperwork. I don't know.
Right. I don't know. It's a great question, but that's a really good point brought up by you. I don't know, because we see this a lot of times where a kid will transfer, then re-enter the transfer portal. That's happened a few times this offseason, whether or not he signed a financial aid agreement or a letter of intent.
Did he enter summer school?
Or yet, that's another good question. I don't know. But
that's very interesting. That's the first I've seen of that. You know, we've taught all this portal talk, and now we've got a double portal deal.
We have seen it before. However, he committed to Louisville a while ago. I've seen some players from Michigan State change their mind, but it was within like a week or so. So they probably didn't. They probably just made a verbal commitment instead of signing any paperwork. So that's going to be a great question brought up by you moving forward on this whole one-time transfer rule.
We'll certainly see what goes on with that, but interesting to see where he ends up. It's kind of funny. That brings back a couple of years ago when Indiana had the guy come in from Arizona. What was his name? It was their starting quarterback. Kind of when Indiana was needing him, Michael Penix was still coming off another injury. You got Peyton Ramsey, and this guy was going to come in and be the guy. Well, it turned out he wasn't the guy. He didn't win the job, and because of that, he had mental issues and left and never played a down at Indiana. But
but I can't think of his name either off the top of my head.
But see, right here is what's wrong with the portal. This is a perfect example. If you put your due diligence in and you pick your school because you had the time to do it, you had the choices and the options, you had the ability to research and to find out. Well, now, I'm not going to be the starter. Well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get back in the portal. Whiny. That's crap. Not getting what these are now babies not getting their way and using this in that way. Now that's exactly what people have talked about being the negative aspect of this. Here's a guy not getting his way, I'm not going to get the starting job. How the hell you know you're going to not get the starting job? Are you not willing to compete for it? This is June. You're telling me Louisville knows who their starting quarterback, as bad as they were, they know their starting quarterback?
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, he had plenty of time. I don't know. I'm guessing that the fact that the NCAA opened up recruiting again, ended its dead period, plays a role in this. I don't know if he was able to visit Louisville or not, meet with Scott.
But you knew that was coming. We all knew it was coming.
We did. And so you should have taken the time. But what's interesting to me is I have no problem with it. I don't really know how to express this, but the writing was kind of on the wall at Nebraska for Luke McCaffrey. He wasn't going to win the job this year. He's been there a couple seasons. He wants to move on and get another opportunity.
Well, apparently it was on the wall at Louisville as well because they returned last year's starter, Malik Cunningham, who threw for over 2,600 yards and 20 touchdowns. And that was during a 3-7 season.
And so I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what the conversation was like, but you wouldn't think you're going to have to go in and compete somewhere for the job, regardless of whether you stay
everywhere
or whether you're going to be at Louisville or whether you're going to go to Northern Colorado. I think that's where his dad coaches and where his brother, Dylan McCaffrey, who is from Michigan, he went to Northern Colorado. Maybe that's where he ends up. I have no idea, but there's going to be some issues with the transfer portal. And this is just the beginning.
Rick Bozich made the greatest suggestion yet. Freshmen cannot use the portal.
Yeah. Well, I would agree.
That rule needs to be made into a fact. I guarantee you, which people are going to say, well, you're not limiting. I think you got a young mind and they make immature, fast decisions like this right here. Perfect example. I agree. The portal, you've got to stay a year to get a year under your belt. You want to transfer after that? Fine.
Here's what I would do.
Well, I guess that does he mean after their sophomore years then? Because that wouldn't make sense.
I would say you can't. But you can't transfer until after your sophomore year, or you are sitting out one season, unless your head coach moves. If there's a coaching change, I can understand that you committed to somebody and you're not going to play for that guy anymore. Especially if you want to follow him to the next university, I can understand that. But if you're just leaving just to leave, I think 2 years at one school is long enough. And like I said, if they want to transfer after their freshman season, that's fine. But sit out a year, make there be some consequence. The other part to me is these kids. Indiana's a beneficiary of this, so I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth a little bit. I mean, you're talking about guys who are getting developed by certain coaches, and then other coaches, other programs are reaping the benefits of that hard work. That's tough for a coach. That's tough for a program. So I understand having player mobility and having them have a little bit more freedom to do what they want. At the same time, I also understand the frustrations that come with this. And this is just like everything we talk about. There's black over here, there's white here, and there's a gray area. And right in this transfer portal, there's a lot of gray that just doesn't seem to be addressed.
You know, the funny thing is, I think this is going to help more football teams and hurt more basketball teams.
Oh, yes, 1,000%. Matt Painter has said these mid-major programs, their best players are going to get poached. And he's right. We've already seen it. Those guys enter. If you have,
they're becoming a farm system.
Exactly. If you have a guy who averages 20, 25 points per game, why wouldn't Kentucky offer him? Why wouldn't Kansas offer him?
Well, that's my question now, though, is if you have a 3 or 4 man recruiting class every year, why in the hell would you recruit, unless you've got a superstar, 5-star, 1 or 2 and done, why would you recruit a freshman? Why would you just not go in and to the store, to the basketball store and pluck? I need one of these. I need one of these. And I damn sure need me one of these. Boom. Put them in the basket, push that baby on up, and here we go.
Well, and the other problem is you've already heard coaches say, and this was I believe it was ESPN, an ESPN story where it's the wild, wild west, quote unquote, where there's already tampering going on. I mean, it's
among players, but here the worst thing is it's among players themselves, and it's totally legal.
Correct. It's not coaches. There are workarounds here. Coaches can't technically talk to a prospect or a kid while he's enrolled at another school until at least he answers the transfer portal. But you're telling me some coach isn't saying to one of his wide receivers, hey, why don't you text your buddy, tell him if he transfers here, we got a starting cornerback spot for him if he enters the transfer portal. It's pretty clear that that's what's happening, and it's only going to get worse. So that's, again, is what I can't even put into words how confusing this whole thing is. The NCAA thought it was doing a good thing. It wasn't. I mean,
the NCAA doesn't ever think it's they convince themselves they're doing a good thing because they're forced. They only do what they're forced to do. First of all, they do what they're for. If it's not for their benefit and they're doing it, it's because they're forced to do it. They were forced into this. They're being forced into the name, image, likeness. Yeah. But because they're being forced and drug into it, I talked about this yesterday. What's going to happen in 3 weeks? When July 1st hits, and those 6 states that have legalized name, image, likeness for athletes, and these other 54 states or 44 states that haven't, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Great question there too.
It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
And this
now that's. Go ahead.
It all could have been avoided. Like it did. I mean,
yes, it could have. Mark Emmert.
We're talking about 25. I mean, it's gone on even longer, but we're talking about 25 years. The NCAA has been so stuck in the Stone Age with this name, image, likeness thing that we're making sweeping changes. If you would have just gradually evolved with the times. I mean, I always go back to the fact that donors could donate, bagels or donuts or whatever, but give them a thing of cream cheese or peanut butter and it's against the rules and guys are suspended for a couple games. Makes no sense. So why did you not evolve the rule book and avoid this sweeping change situation? We could have gradually changed and probably been in a better situation, but because the NCAA was so stuck in things that were relevant in the 1970s that there was no option but to do this the hard way. Now they could have taken gradual steps, but they didn't.
Well, they could. It's always the case. I mean, I've said it over and over. I don't understand why the presidents. Well, first of all, because the NCAA is ultimately run by the school presidents, and which those guys know zip about sports. And the people that have been put in charge of the sports, their CEO of the sports departments, their athletic directors, are not the people that are in charge. They're not the decision makers, right. Which is asinine. And it is exactly why the NCAA is an asinine organization run by asinine people and ends up with asinine results. I don't understand how you would expect anything different from that combination of ingredients. That's the cake you're going to get every time.
Correct. And yet Mark Emmert has a 4-year extension or whatever it is to run the organization. I'm guessing because he makes schools money.
They are making money.
Yep.
They are definitely making money. But see, the problem is other people that are the workers want a piece of that pie now. They're tired of that, and that's a whole different story. But I don't know what's going to happen in 3 weeks. That's the problem, and neither does the NCAA. Well, I know what the NCAA does. They're gonna do a backwards. Did you see who they were meeting with yesterday? I just want to take a hammer. Mitt Romney and Mark Emmert. Romney and Mark Emmert. I'm like, it's just. Why don't we just get Vladimir Putin involved? Actually, he'd probably do a hell of a lot better job. He was just like, boom, it's going to be like this. Done. Let's see. Oh, man. Did you see that former Michigan State basketball player Keith Appling facing murder charge?
Yep. Sad story.
Yeah. Fatal shooting of a family member, prosecutors said on Monday. Man, he was a big part of the.
Yeah. He was second team all Big Ten. He was 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists guy. I think he had a little bit of a stint in the NBA, and that's a sad story to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. He's had some legal trouble the past 4 or 5 years, I believe. So just really sad.
Yes, it is. What's coming up next for you this week, man?
Oh, we're just continuing to write. As Bob Kravitz said, it's the tough time of year to come up with stories, but we're continuing to crank stuff out. And, SaturdayTradition.com, all 14 Big Ten teams. And now with baseball, Big Ten out of the baseball season, we're all about football in the upcoming season. So we'll have plenty of news and feature stories on that throughout the next couple months.
Yeah, man, my Reds are not, I don't know. I mean, they're going to end up staying in the middle all year is what I think they're going to end up doing. But we'll find out. Hey, tomorrow we're back with Dustin Schutte, Chris Denari. Matt's not on because he's already been on, but we're going to have Mike DeCourcy tomorrow. So there's a bonus for you. Mike couldn't be on Tuesday, so we swapped him. So he'll be with us tomorrow instead. Looking forward to that. That'll be fun. So lots of good fun. It's been a fun day today as always. I can't thank you enough. Can't thank Bob Kravitz enough and Kyle Neddenriep. I'll be heading to Brownsburg tonight for the Junior Senior All-Star game to take that in, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow, plus a lot more. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Dustin, thank you, brother. Go out and have yourselves a fun day.
Thank you. I will. I sure will. You do the same, Jim.
Thanks to producer John. Everybody else, thank you. Without you, there's nothing for us. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.